The United States of America 5-cent coin dated 1963, commonly known as the Jefferson Nickel, is a small yet historically rich piece of mid-20th century American coinage whose design, symbolism, and context reflect national identity, technological changes in minting, and the political atmosphere of the era. Struck in 75% copper and 25% nickel, the 1963 nickel continues the classic design introduced in 1938, featuring on its obverse a left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, third President of the United States and principal author of the Declaration of Independence. Above Jefferson's head appears the national motto, "In God We Trust," reaffirming a phrase that had become increasingly central to American symbolism during the Cold War. To the left is the word liberty, followed by the date 1963 in a clean sans-serif style that characterizes the design continuity of mid-century U.S. coins. The engraver Felix Schlag originally won a national competition for this portrait in the late 1930s, and it remained mostly unchanged for decades, creating a visual consistency familiar to generations of Americans. On the reverse is a crisply detailed image of Monticello, Jefferson's famous Virginia home, depicted with classical simplicity. Above Monticello arches the Latin motto, E pluribus unum, meaning out of many one, a statement of national unity dating back to the founding of the Republic. Below the building appears the word Monticello, and beneath that the coin's denomination, 5 cents, along with United States of America, carefully engraved to emphasize both national authority and monetary value. The year 1963 holds added numismatic interest because it represents the final years before widespread coinage changes associated with the mid-1960s silver shortages. While the nickel's composition never changed, its place within circulating coinage gained greater attention during this period. The Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint produced unusually high mintages of these coins to meet the growing demands of a rapidly expanding U.S. economy, with the Denver issue, D mint mark, typically more numerous. Circulation where among many surviving specimens is common, but well-preserved pieces, particularly those with strong strikes, full steps on Monticello, or brilliant uncirculated surfaces, are valued by collectors for their clarity and historical charm. The 1963 Jefferson Nickel also reflects America's cultural messaging of the era. The inclusion of phrases like "In God We Trust" and "E pluribus unum" was not merely decorative, but emblematic of national ideals promoted in schools, public spaces, and patriotic expressions during a time defined by space race competition, civil rights developments, and broader geopolitical uncertainty. As a result, the 1963 5-cent piece stands not only as everyday currency, but as a compact artifact of its time, blending artistry, symbolism, and national identity into a small metal token that passed through the hands of millions of Americans. The next top. The United States of America 1964 5-cent coin, commonly known as the Jefferson Nickel, represents one of the most widely produced coins in American history and stands as a transitional artifact from a time of economic strain, historical change, and expanding American identity, minted in enormous quantities due to a national coin shortage in the early 1960s. The 1964 nickel bears the familiar obverse portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the nation's third president and principal author of the Declaration of Independence, designed by artist Felix Schlag, whose work was selected in a 1938 competition to replace the Buffalo nickel. On the front of the coin, Jefferson's left-facing profile is clean and neoclassical, accompanied by the motto, "In God We Trust," along the left rim, the word liberty, inscribed in elegant script behind Jefferson's head, followed by the date 1964, which marks the final year before the U.S. Mint temporarily froze the coin's date to help offset the shortage. The 1964 nickel was struck at both the Philadelphia Mint, no mint mark, and the Denver Mint, marked with a D, on the reverse to the right of Monticello, with combined mintages exceeding 2.8 billion coins, making it one of the highest mintage United States coins ever produced. Turning to the reverse, Schlag's depiction of Monticello, Jefferson's iconic Virginia estate, sits centered beneath the national motto, E pluribus unum, Latin for out of many one, referring to the union of the states, and above the denomination 5 cents and the legend, United States of America, all arranged in the symmetrical, architectural style favored for American coinage of the mid-20th century. Compositionally, the 1964 nickel is made from a durable alloy of 75% copper and 25% nickel, weighing 5 grams with a diameter of 21.2 millimeters. Identical to modern nickels, and unlike the wartime issues of 1942 to 1945, it contains no silver. Numismatically, most circulated 1964 nickels are common and hold primarily face value, but exceptionally well-preserved mint-state examples, especially those with sharp steps on Monticello, known as full steps or FS, are significantly more desirable among collectors because the high-speed minting of that year often resulted in weak detail. Historically, the coin reflects Cold War-era America, a period when national mottos like "In God We Trust" and "E Pluribus Unum" carried symbolic weight, representing unity, institutional stability, and democratic ideals. The Jefferson nickel itself remained largely unchanged from its introduction in 1938 until its redesign in 2004 to 2006, making the 1964 issue an important piece of a long, consistent chapter in U.S. coinage. Today, while its monetary value is small, the 1964 5-cent coin is a widely collected and historically meaningful artifact, capturing in metal a snapshot of American culture, politics, iconography, and minting practices during a pivotal period of mid-20th century history. The next top. The United States of America 5 cents, 1979, commonly known as the Jefferson nickel, is a copper-nickel coin that has been part of U.S. circulating currency since 1938, and the 1979 issue continues the long tradition of portraying key national symbols and mottos such as "In God We Trust," "E Pluribus Unum," and the iconic portrait of Thomas Jefferson alongside the depiction of his home, Monticello. Struck at two primary mints in 1979, the Philadelphia Mint No Mint Mark and the Denver Mint D Mint Mark, with a smaller proof mintage from the San Francisco Mint S Mint Mark. The coin is composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel, weighs 5 grams, measures 21.21 millimeters, and has a smooth, plain edge. On the obverse, designed by Felix Schlag, Jefferson faces left, accompanied by the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the year 1979, with a small mint mark to the right of the portrait on coins from Denver or San Francisco. The reverse features Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia estate, with the building's name, Monticello, displayed prominently beneath it, followed by 5 cents, United States of America, and at the top the motto, "E Pluribus Unum," meaning "out of many, one," reflecting the unity of the states and the foundational values of the nation. In terms of historical context, the 1979 nickel is part of the long-running pre-2004 Jefferson nickel design era, 1938 to 2003, a stable period in U.S. coinage where the nickel did not undergo significant design changes, unlike the penny, quarter, or half-dollar during similar times. Although billions were minted in the late 1970s, making the 1979 nickel common in circulation and modest in collector value, certain pieces, particularly high-grade mint state, MS 65 or higher, coins, sharply struck Denver examples, or cameo contrast proofs from San Francisco, can be of interest to numismatists. Errors such as off-center strikes, die cracks, clipped planchets, or full-step Monticello details, a premium variety where the steps on Monticello are fully visible and well-struck, can also raise the value of individual examples. The coin captures a moment in late 20th century American minting, reflecting both technological consistency and the enduring imagery chosen to honor Thomas Jefferson's legacy as a founding father, principal author of the Declaration of Independence, and the nation's third president. The presence of the mottos, "In God We Trust" and "E Pluribus Unum," underscores the philosophical foundations of the United States, while the depiction of Monticello ties the currency to a physical and historical landmark. Even though the 1979 Jefferson nickel is not rare, it remains an interesting piece of American history, representing stable coinage, national identity, and the evolving traditions of the U.S. Mint. The next top. The United States of America 1985, D 5 cents, commonly called the Jefferson nickel, represents a continuation of one of the nation's most enduring coinage designs, and although it is a modern circulation coin, it carries a remarkable amount of historical, artistic, and numismatic significance. On the obverse, designed by the German-American sculptor Felix Schlag, appears the familiar left-facing profile of Thomas Jefferson, third President of the United States and drafter of the Declaration of Independence, accompanied by the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," along the left rim, and "Liberty," followed by a small 5-point star and the date 1985, with the D Mint mark, indicating the Denver Mint, placed just to the right of the portrait. On the reverse, also created by Schlag, stands Jefferson's Virginia home Monticello, an elegant neoclassical structure whose stylized depiction symbolizes both Jefferson's intellect and early American architectural ideals, surrounded by the motto, E Pluribus Unum, at the top, the building's name, Monticello, at the center bottom, and the denomination 5 cents along with United States of America forming the lower legend. The coin retains the classic Jefferson nickel composition of 75% copper and 25% nickel, giving it its characteristic silver-gray appearance and durability. And it has a diameter of 21.21 millimeters, a weight of 5.00 grams, and a smooth, plain edge, specifications that had remained unchanged since 1946 when Schlag's design first entered production after winning a nationwide competition to replace the Buffalo nickel. The Denver Mint produced a very large mintage of 1985 D nickels, hundreds of millions, reflecting the coin's primary role as a workhorse of American commerce, which means that most surviving examples are common in circulated condition, while only unusually sharp, high-grade, uncirculated pieces, especially those graded MS-66 or MS-67 by professional services, attract notable interest from collectors. Although the 1985 D nickel is not associated with major celebrated die varieties, specialists still examine them for subtle strike differences, die fatigue, alignment anomalies, and rare full-step specimens. Nickels where the steps of Monticello on the reverse are completely and sharply struck, a feature called full steps, FS, that can greatly increase collector value due to the difficulty of achieving such precision on Jefferson nickels. Historically, this coin fits into the long era of pre-Westward Journey series design, a period when the nickel's design went largely unchanged for decades, becoming a familiar presence in pockets, banks, and circulation, and it reflects American design ideals of the mid-20th century: clarity, classical influence, and a desire to honor foundational figures and national symbols. Culturally, it continues to embody the national mottos, "In God We Trust," and "E Pluribus Unum," the former expressing a traditional American invocation of divine trust, and the latter meaning, out of many, one, capturing the nation's identity built on unity from diversity. Beyond design and symbolism, the 1985 D nickel is also a snapshot of U.S. minting technology in the mid-1980s, when the mint was refining die steel, improving presses, and preparing for future modernization, making these coins an interesting study in transitional minting practices. Though most circulated examples hold only face value, uncirculated or proof-like specimens preserved in collections, rolls, or mint-sealed bags provide insights into production quality, metallic luster, strike sharpness, and long-term durability, and they serve as an accessible entry point for beginning collectors. Overall, the 1985 D Jefferson nickel, despite its commonality, carries the combined weight of American history, artistry, and monetary tradition, representing not just 5 cents of spending power but a miniature piece of national heritage, one that connects everyday commerce with the broader narrative of American design, Jeffersonian ideals, and the enduring presence of mottos like "In God We Trust" and "E Pluribus Unum" on the circulating coinage of the United States. The next top. The United States of America 5-cent coin, nickel, dated 2002, P is part of the long-running Jefferson Nickel series, a design used from 1938 to 2003 before the Westward Journey redesigns began. The P mint mark on the right side of Monticello indicates that the coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which produced hundreds of millions of nickels that year for general circulation. Like all modern nickels since 1866, except during World War II, the 2002 P piece is composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel, weighs 5.00 grams, and has a diameter of 21.21 millimeters with a smooth, plain edge. The obverse of the coin features the classic left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, originally designed by Felix Schlag, along with the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the year 2002 written in Schlag's distinctive script style added in 1966. On the reverse is Jefferson's home, Monticello, also designed by Schlag, accompanied by the inscriptions E Pluribus Unum, United States of America, 5 cents, and the mint mark P placed to the right of the building. The strike quality of 2002 P nickels is typical of modern circulation coinage, though well-preserved examples exist in mint sets, and high-grade pieces can interest collectors who specialize in Jefferson nickels. In everyday conditions, a circulated 2002 P nickel holds face value, but pristine uncirculated or proof-like examples can reach modest premiums depending on grade, luster, and die quality. This coin represents the stable, unchanged pre-2004 era of the Jefferson nickel, and it carries the motto, E Pluribus Unum, out of many, one, the national motto, In God We Trust, and the iconic American neoclassical imagery of Monticello, marking it as both a small piece of U.S. monetary history and a familiar object from daily life in the early 2000s.